So, are we allowed to think aloud here?
Yes.
Yes, yes, you're allowed to think as aloud as you can.
Right.
So what inspired the name Native Deen? Because what that really means is native religion.
Yeah, so religion is a translation of deen that is often used in the Quran. I kind of negotiate away from that as well. I like uh, the understanding that deen is a path, that deen is a way of life, and especially because in the verse in the Quran in Arabic it says lakum dinukum waliya deen, which translates as, you know, to you be your something and to me be my something, right? It's often translated as religion. To you be your religion and to me be mine. But if somebody doesn't follow a religion, they'd be like, yeah, that doesn't apply to me. But everybody on earth has a deen. Everybody has a path, a way that you're walking, a way that you've chosen to live your life. And however you live in your life, that in Arabic, that would be your deen, right? And the way of life that we're trying to live is the path of peace, the path of this peaceful submission to the God who created everything. So it's called Deen al-Islam. But and I guess now you've led me into the reason why I'm negotiating away from Muslim is because um, I think that's a broader term than we, you know, if I say, oh, he's Christian, he's Jewish, he's Muslim, like it makes it sound like Muslim is some like different religion, right? But in Arabic, if you know, you see that the people who followed Jesus were called Muslim. In Arabic, the people who followed Moses were called Muslim. In Arabic, the Abraham's the one that made that prayer, you know, make my followers Muslim, and that, you know, that's Abraham. So it's not just from a Quranic perspective. It's not just people who believe in Prophet Muhammad. From my understanding, to me, from the Quran, it is all the people who have been living on this earth who have decided to follow a path that is submitting to the will of God, and they fall under that term. And so so yeah, Deen, that was my long answer to Deen. So Deen is a path. Deen is a way that you've decided to live. And native was, we felt like this path of submission is a natural way. It's native to us as human beings, and as African Americans, we felt like we were native. You know, even though like we're not native, I do have Native American blood a little bit, but that's not what we meant. It's like, okay, well, we're native to this land, you know, indigenous, and so we just said, okay, Native Deen, and yeah, that's how we got it.
What inspired kind of the songs behind what you guys sang about? Because you guys had some. I was even showing it to my non-Muslim friends the other day, and they were like, "This is a banger, man. This is super catchy. Like Muslim. I'm so blessed to be with."
Oh man, we got more stuff, man. You got to see. I don't know how many times we've been traveling, and somebody will meet somebody. How old are you, by the way?
I'm 21.
Okay, so somebody 25, 26. The first thing they say, oh, are you Native Deen? Oh man, I used to listen to Native Deen all the time when I was little. And I'd be like, used to. So we gotta let people know we got new music out there, man. We did solo albums. We got about 4 or 5 albums out there. So Muslim, that's one of the old songs. But
Well, the
I'm
thing
glad,
is that on
people liked it.
yeah, on Apple Music, it's one of the top songs. So it's the most streamed one, I'm guessing.
Oh yeah,
You guys have a new release. It's called Lost and Striving, right?
that's a like a short movie. Yeah.
Okay, so it's not an app because I was looking for it and I couldn't find it on Apple, and I was like, what's going on here? So it's not an album.
No, it's not an album. It's a short movie that Abdul Malik directed. Deen TV is a project that he took off as took over as a branch of Native Deen, and started this kind of like a nonprofit to do videography and things like that. And so that's the second movie that they've made. Well, the first one was more like a Netflix series. It wasn't Netflix, but it was like broken up into segments. But this one was like a 1 hour film.
Okay, before we go into that, because I want to talk to you about that. But let's first talk about what message you guys were trying to send through your songs. Like what kind of what was it behind, what was behind, and what was the motivation? And there, it was clearly coming from a place from the heart. So how did these lyrics come about that really told a story, but at the same time were rhythmic and catchy?
Mm. So all of us came from different places, right? So Abdul Malik, who is the one who has written the most songs for the group Native Deen, right? He writes, and he writes a lot, and he writes. It comes easy to him. He's been blessed with it. Uh, he'll like see something and decide that's a problem, and I need to write a song about it, right? So he might see youth disrespecting their parents or something like that, right? And he'll say, that's a problem. I've heard a lot about it in the community. I'm going to write a song about it. Naeem and I might be a little bit different. So me, like all of my songs would start from the music. I didn't really have anything to say, but I would like a beat would come into my head, and I dun, 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 so I'm humming that, and then I start putting stuff to it like La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasul. Now, why did I put those Arabic words to it that mean there's no God but the one true God? It's just because I'm raised Muslim, right? But it was first for me, it was the beat. I had the beat, and then I would go to my friends and say, okay, what should I say to this beat, right? Like what song should I write about? Oh man, you should write something about this or something about that, and be like, okay, yeah, and then I start putting words to it. So me, it was more like I didn't really have like a message that I wanted to promote to the community. But what came from within me was a message. It was always something that was beneficial and things like that. But so sometimes we came at music from different angles,
Wow, and I'm glad that's the case, because that's what allowed you guys to make such great music that got millions of views on YouTube at the end of the
Oh yeah.
day, and probably got hundreds of thousands of streams, if not millions. I'm not really sure about you guys' streaming data, but
Neither am I. It's okay.
but you guys, I mean, you guys did a great job, and I think fun fact about Abdul Malik is that his mother used to teach me for at least 3 years in elementary school.
Really?
Yeah, and she didn't decide to mention to us. She always told us about her ballerina stories, but she never mentioned to us that she was the first ever Black ballerina in America to break the color barrier. Like
Right.
someone had to tell me that, and I was like, "Yo, I had this lady for like 3 years of my life. Why did she never mention that?"
No, nobody mentioned it until I think Abdul Malik did a special on her on Dean TV. So he started this thing called Dean TV, always looking for content. And so we said that would be really cool. Yeah, we found out about his mother, said you should do something on your mother. And he was like, okay. And so he interviewed her, and he got pictures and everything. And so yeah, I think a lot of people found out about it late in her life, late in his life, that she's like is part of the American history.
The only thing she would mention about it was like if I fell asleep or someone fell asleep or something, she'd be like, "Wake up! We used to clean the ballerina floors with Coca-Cola or something random like that." It was it was an interesting way. She was just compartmentalized. She would just carpet her stories throughout our experience with her in the classroom, which is interesting.
That is funny. That is funny.
And I want to go back to what you mentioned about, people mentioning the songs that you guys had around it. Like the song that I just mentioned, Muslim, is like a 2006, 2007 song. But how recent was the most recent album you guys dropped?
Actually, it's a 1999 song, and then we remixed it in 2000, and we remixed it in 2000 and somewhere in there that you mentioned. Yeah. So after the last album that we did was called what's it called? Man, Dean, Not Afraid to Stand Alone, and what's the third album? Ooh, that lets you know how long I've been away from the band, man.
See?
Oh man, something about I'm about to yell at my wife and be like, what was the name of our last album? Anyway, it was with the cover was with us like in a scientific lab doing something. So that was the last album. I think that came out in 2014, 2000, somewhere in there. But then we decided to do solo albums because there was tension in the group, you know, like all of the songs had to be, sometimes it's hard. First of all, I want everybody to know we're still a band. We've been together 20 years, and it's very hard to keep a band together for 20 years, right? If you look out in the industry, it's very few bands, especially Muslim bands, but even outside of the Muslim community in mainstream America, it's very hard to keep a band together for 20 years. Because I might be excited about a song that I came up with in the shower, and I think it's a hit. I know it's a hit. And I bring it to the group and I'm like, boom, man, I got this hit, listen to this. And then, Josh, no, I'm not feeling that. What you mean you're not feeling it, man? They're like, no, you need to do this to it. You need to do this to it. I'm like, no, I don't want to do nothing to it. And then so you got to force your song forward onto the album. And then the more you force it, maybe the more upset somebody else gets because they don't think it's that good. And then, so that was always happening with our music, right? It was very difficult as an artist. So we said, we need to do our own project, right? Everybody, let's do your own album and just flex your wings a little bit. So Naeem went first. He did a beautiful album called I Love When You Use Your Words. And then Abdul Malik did his album and it was called Conscious Reboot, right? And then I just released the album last year called One True, right? And so that took like 5 years for us to do that. And now we're going to work on our last Native Deen album. We're going to come back together and push those songs. And I think some of that tension that we have as a group is what makes some of the good music come out.
What do you mean by last album? Is it going to be literally your last album?
Yeah, man, it's time to hang it up. You know, look, I'm 47. My son is 20, almost 21 years old. He'll be 21 in May. You know, so it's time for us to pass it on. And well, we don't even have to pass it on. Look, the next generation was taking it. Like I remember people started asking us, oh yeah, we've heard all about you. You guys are called Deen Squad, right? It's like, no, that's that new hotness. We're not Deen Squad. We're called Native Deen. Oh, I never heard of you guys. So, alhamdulillah, thank God that so many young people are like doing it now. So I think we didn't want to fade out into the background. We wanted to go out with a bang. So we're going to try to do one last album, make it as nice as we can, and do one last tour around the world after COVID is over. And then, you know, just perform at your grandson's, you know, birthday party or something.
I'm glad you addressed that because I was confused myself when I saw that you released your own album. I was like, did they split up? Did the band split up? Oh my God. And even you guys just did a recent interview. I think it was on New Year's. And it seemed like you guys were still, it seemed like you guys even had some catching up to do even through that interview. And I was like, I hope they're okay. I hope they're still together. And I hope the relationship is still good.
That's funny. Yeah, we're always catching up, you know. Look, sometimes the real story is, and I don't know if they'll ever make like a little movie about Native Deen, the history of the band, but a lot of times we were so busy. Look, Abdul Malik is a web developer. Abdul Malik is a martial arts instructor. Abdul Malik is you know, doing Deen TV. He's involved with a whole bunch of stuff. Naeem has been working for Muslim charities for I don't know how many years, maybe 15 years. And so he was always flying around the world somewhere, right? So, and I was busy in my own right too, right? And so sometimes we would come to the airport for a gig. Like I was normally the one coordinating things. I tell them what flight we were on, what time to be at the airport and all that. And we would meet at the airport and that would be the first time we had met in a while. And so we catch up in the airport. Hey, how things going? And then when we get to where we're going, as soon as we land and we get in the hotel, we put all the clothes, you know, put everything away and be like, all right, what songs we doing tonight? You know?
Really?
And then we start practicing in the hotel room. You know, so that was we had done it for so long that we could just kind of pick it up and do it, and then the crowd would get an amazing show. I would say there's a lot of artists out there with much better voices than we have. Zayn Bika has a more beautiful voice. Dowd Warnsby has more beautiful. Maher Zain has a beautiful voice. Sammy Yusuf has a beautiful voice. All these people have better voices than us. But with the live show, like when you come to the show, when you come to the concert, I don't know if there's anybody who was touching us with the Native Deen live show. And so we tried to really just give the crowd a nice live performance, something that they couldn't hear on the album. But yeah, we got a lot of funny stories, man.
Yeah, you guys had an amazing drummer. So some of the drummers you guys had were wow. It was out of this world. Your live performances were great. That's not a lie at all.
It stepped up when we got that drummer. So we got him back in like 2003, 2002, early on, and he's been performing with us since. Sometimes we would get a replacement drummer if he couldn't make it, but the main drummer was a guy named Todd Snare Lothar, also known as Todic Snare Lothar. Look, he was so much into drumming, he changed his middle name to Snare for the snare drum, and that's a true story. And yeah, he's amazing. He's still drumming, and if we ever perform, that's the one we call, from Brooklyn, New York.
So was you guys' relationship and friendship based off of solely the band, solely the music, or did you guys have a relationship off or outside of the band?
Well, like I said, we knew each other from those youth groups.
Right. Were you guys like friends then, or did kind
Yeah.
of music band you together?
Both. We were friends before the music, but the music definitely brought us closer together. That was the gel that happened in 1999. Well, for Naeem and Abdul Malik, it happened for them before me, because remember, I helped with the first album, Men of Raps tape, and then I went into the military. And then when I came out, those two had already been working together for years. And so I kind of joined on, and we made this group. But yeah, so it was the music, because like I said, in that Muslim youth of North America, there's a lot of other people that we're friends with, but Native Deen is kind of like a bond on its own.